Starting. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Corey Thompson from Dice Tower Now and Dice Tower Dish.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 275. And we're recording this on May 3rd, 2023. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And now, by the time you hear this, since the voting will have ended on May 7th for the Golden Geek Awards for Best Podcast and all the games, one of us will be happy, like crazy happy, and one of us will be very sad. And those two are myself, Stephen Bonacore, the Podfather of Gaming, and the other is Tom Vassell. And we know the way that Tom Vassell wants this voting to go. Corey, I don't know if we won, but we will have won by the time everyone hears this. I'm going to assume not and be a little sad now.
Oh, well, we were nominated purely because I'm on the show now. So
that is true.
We should call the award the best new host in a stagnant podcast.
And this is why people are saying that you have put a breath of new life into the show with your awful humor mocking Bonacore.
That's true. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's breathing.
That is good. Corey, what is going on? And I see new things behind you right now. What's going on in your life?
So I apologize if I'm a little echoey, but I could not help it. I am in my new recording studio in LA. This is part of the film studio that I've built up. We have a recording booth. I couldn't help having the classic shot of the window for the recording booth behind me. So
looks very cool.
Furniture in here right now, so it might be a little echoey.
That looks very, very cool. I'm telling you. Better angle we need though for people to see you in with that window behind you in the recording studio. But it's very cool that you have one now in LA for your new business venture, which hopefully we'll be hearing a lot about going forward.
That's true. Above board, we're probably going to be dropping our first videos in mid-May, and look out for a big announce and a big show at Gen Con.
Can't wait.
But in other news, I just came from Gamma. And I have a couple cool things for Gamma Expo. First of all, it was super crowded. The show was definitely dominated by Lorcana, the card game. Everybody was super excited about that. It's the Disney trading card game run by Ravensburger, and it drew crowds. But I had a cool little story that feeds more into the Board Game Insider. So if you want to hear a little bit about the inside stuff, I had the great pleasure to meet Ammon Anderson, and he arrived at Gamma with a prototype. Now, this is a real unicorn. This is something that does not happen often. But Ammon's prototype was, I'm going to say, print ready. It looked perfect. He did his own art. He did his own prototype. He did his own design. And playing this game, you can quote me now, my prediction, this is Spiel contender.
So we're talking Spiel des Jahres, not Kenner Spiel des Jahres. Which one?
Spiel des Jahres.
Okay, so family weight-ish kind of
family weight, elegant tile laying game.
Nice,
and well developed.
So I don't know Ammon Anderson.
Nobody does. Nobody does. He showed up at Gamma with his game, and I know for a fact there are 8 large publishers offering him deals now.
Wow, that's awesome, man. What's the name of the game, if you can say it?
Of course. I'm sorry. The game is called Gnome Hollow, and you should watch out for this one. I've agreed it's going to be a few years with everything, but mark my words, this is a Spiel contender.
Very, very, very cool. What else, man?
Gamma, like I said, it was crowded. The feeling was amazing. For me, it's mostly a social thing. But the whole being around with all the publishers trying to wine and dine Ammon, and at the same time having Lorcana just be this gorilla looming over the show where everybody was in crowds. I always love Gamma, and this one was no exception. It's great going to see everybody.
That's awesome. I mean, I love going there, but I like going there for the social aspects. It's kind of like what you just said, and I I didn't go because I figured I'd just be in everybody's way this year. I had no business reason to be there. You were covering, new game releases and things like that.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
great.
Well, I'm in the industry. You're not.
I'm accepting of that. Anything else you want to mention in your life besides that? Or
Oh, I think you're teasing me a little bit. I am for the studio right now,
I see it.
trying
I
to
see it in the show notes.
negotiate. I'm trying to negotiate to maybe film a little something at Jet Propulsion Laboratories in Southern California. I'm trying to set up maybe playing a game where they created the Mars rovers.
Well, I am flying out on my own dime, and I'm coming. I'm going to be on your crew for anything you do with regards to being at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, a part of NASA. I'm going to be there. So you might have to send guards to keep me out, but I'm going to be there
If
for
this
this.
happens, this is very early in
Yep.
negotiations, and I definitely will let you know. Now,
All
I
right.
could only think of a game that would be appropriate to play there.
I'm trying not to say anything. I'm trying to
I
just be cool about the
know.
whole thing. Yes, that
You
might
are
be cool.
so not cool about it,
I'm
man.
not
You're
cool.
so not cool.
Some people think I'm cool. I don't know, but okay. Let's move on. Let's move on because we
Absolutely.
have to move on. We have a lot of news to talk about. But if at the Podfather of Gaming here, I'm going to bring back up my role playing games, my two games that I've been involved with now for years, right? So one of them is this Pathfinder first edition game with my oldest friends in New Jersey. Shout out to Chad for being cool and DMing this for over 3 years now. I think we're going.
And for just tolerating you for that long.
And Sam and Paula and Mike and Bob, aka Keith. He's got two names. Don't even start. So really, it's really great. We're in our last segment of that campaign. Love playing with these guys that I don't get to see very often. And the other one is with the industry folks, Julie Ahern, Dustin Wessel, Rachel Blasky, and DM by Alex Schmidt. And I've been talking highly about this D&D 5e. And the reason that I'm mentioning it now is that, and I'm kind of setting something up. We had a cataclysmic event that occurred while we were at the Gathering of Friends. We played for 7 hours, where my character's god basically came down and stopped time and said, "You now can choose. You can save yourself, or none of you, and move forward in time in this now cataclysmic area that you've just created here, this kind of bad situation. Probably your party will die, or you can go back 10,000 years." And my character decided to save the people right there and shunt us back 10,000 years, where the research opportunities for him, which is kind of what he's about, will be amazing. Seeing the Netherese, this is an old race in the Forgotten Realms, are there. But we have a choice now. So we're now 10,000 years in the back. Do we continue and can just continue this campaign ad infinitum in the past? Do we do an epilogue, several sessions where we just kind of close the movie out? Or do we just restart, and play a new campaign, new characters and stuff like that? And if you listen to play testing, I'm going to have you guys kind of help me vote on which way we're going to do that. But I wanted to shout that out because Alex is an amazing DM, and he has done a great job with homebrew / some module stuff that he did, and he's done a great job bringing this thing forward and bringing us to this crazy event that we're going through right now. The other thing that I did this past week is I went up to the Kennedy Space Center. I mentioned I was going to do that last week to see the Falcon Heavy launch, SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, right? It's the largest rocket that's in current use for commercial missions. Not the largest rocket ever made. They exploded one of those very grand manner, which is part of testing, and that's cool. It's not the largest rocket besides that one, which is the SLS that took Artemis 1 without people to the moon. But this is the largest one that's in use commercially. It's not even human rated. It just takes up the biggest satellites. And it's only about 6 of these, I believe, that have been done. Sadly, even with this wonderful experience I was having out there, it didn't go. These things happen. They had to scrub the launch due to weather. There was lightning strikes. It was crazy weather that day. But I had a great experience because I got to hang out for 2 days at the Cape. And I just love being up there. And I got to shout out to everybody who goes to the Orlando area. Don't just go to Disney. Don't just go to Universal and SeaWorld. Go an hour to the east and go to the Kennedy Space Center. You can spend a day and a half or more, 2 days there, based on all the things you can see. And the funny thing is, so I had to get back because I had things to do back here. Paula and I watched the Falcon Heavy launch because it's so powerful, 5 million pounds of thrust. We watched it from the window that's here to my right. Because it's so powerful, we can see it from 2.5 hours away. It's a 2.5 hour drive. Now, you're not going to see the rocket, but you're going to see this streak of fireball arcing over Florida and just heading east over the ocean. I was amazed at how it looked from this distance away. If I was there, it would have just been mind-blowing. But I will go back for one of these.
They were just waiting for you to leave.
They were waiting. They was like, Bonacor's here. Got to scrub this lunch. There's no way we're allowing this lunch. So it was a double scrub too. I was there for 2 full days. Scrubbed it one day. I stayed overnight. Scrubbed it the next day. I just couldn't stay anymore. I had to get back. But it was still a great experience with everybody waiting and seeing what was going to go.
It sounds super cool.
It was really, really cool. Let's get over to the event deck. All right, this is a huge amount of news, and I'm sure we're not going to get to all this news today, but let's do what we can do. The first one is something kind of, near and dear to my heart, your heart. AI and the geek culture industry. Is it a threat, a tool, or both? And this is a column on ICV2 by Rob Salkowitz, and we've quoted his articles in the past. He's associated with the industry, and he does a lot of these. Let's think how the industry is going right now. And he said basically that he thought it's going to be both. It's going to be good, it's going to be bad. And I'll give you the too long didn't read kind of thing. As a professional writer, I can see the advantages and limitations. What's wrong?
I prepped. I read it.
Okay, but I'm going to read this part, and then we can go back and forth. As a professional writer, I can see advantages and limitations to the chatbots more clearly than on the art side, right? Because there's chatbots that are going to talk to you about the games, and there's the art side, which is scary. Where to me, the ability to conjure a gorgeously rendered image out of nothing but a prompt feels like magic. But maybe artists who are fully in control of their crafts are starting to see some of the benefits of human AI collaboration with more nuance. Either way, it is difficult for me to see a scenario where this does not result in a lot of job losses in the medium term. There are lots of legal and ethical issues around the data on which the systems have been trained. Those problems aren't going away, and the leaders of the industry don't particularly care. I think that's all industries too. It's not just gaming. At the moment, nobody cares. They're just waiting to see how it goes. Without leadership or concern from the top, it's up to us to figure out how to get the algorithms working for us. That's key. Before we're all working for the algorithms. And these are his opinions that I'm reading.
Yep.
Very interesting guy and a very thoughtful article. Corey, so you did your prep work. What do you think about some of the things he said?
I think it's a fantastic article, and he really goes into the pros and cons. But what we need to remember is AI is essentially a weighted average. The AI is going to mine from everything that's out there on the internet, which is nearly infinite resources, and use an intelligent weighted algorithm to give you a homogenization of what's out there. So the really interesting things I hadn't thought about is Rob talks about how you can use AI, or the industry could use AI to investigate and probe what's already been done. So if you have questions about something you're writing or questions about something you're constructing, the AI can kind of investigate and see if it's already been done and what angles have been done and what needs to be done. which is a really interesting angle on it. Um, I love the thoughts of taking everything that's already been done out there and finding new ways to manipulate it, and new answers and new investigations. I think what the secret's going to be for AI for us is really going to be some form of bibliography or responsibility. When it generates something that looks new, it should be able to generate a bibliography of the most influential items there, and we can give credit where credit's due.
That's great. I mean, that's very thoughtful. Thank you for that. Right. So it knows where it's getting info, right? It's using some John Howe because the person wanted a gray wizard with a staff. So it's using some John Howe and using some Francesca to create this. And yeah, that would be an easy thing for it to do.
It's still going to be difficult because the list of bibliography is going to be jillions long, but at least the most influential pieces can be in a file. You can reference that file for
jillions or not. It could even do it one step better than that. It could say, well, 80% of this came from this, and 70% and 20% of it came from this, or a 1%, 8%. It can probably tell you all of the influences and weighted how it used it. So, I mean, my take on the whole thing, I mean, we can't go forever on this because we're going to be talking about this forever.
We've been talking about it forever.
This is like the new OGL. I mean, the AI in geek culture, AI in society is going to be tremendous and in geek culture.
It's there. It's never going to go away.
Yeah. My take on this is that we're going to use. Hopefully, the good thing is we're going to use this, to help us learn games. I hate reading rule books. It'd be great. We're going to use this to when we're playing the game. We know the game, but like we have an argument. Like, what's the rule? Hey, Joanne, I don't want to say her name. She's sitting right here. Can you tell me, how this works in Ticket to Ride or whatever the game is?
I mean, if only we had a search engine that began with a G that did that already.
Sure, but the AI puts
this will be a more intelligent way to ask the question.
Exactly. So fantastic article. So thank you to Rob Zalkowitz for that, and a very, very thoughtful and this great discussion here. So this next one is just so good.
It's fascinating.
This is amazing. So Pinkerton Agents raid Magic the Gathering YouTuber. So let's set the scene on this. Okay, so some YouTube influencer was sent pre-release Magic the Gathering cards. Now, from Wizards of the Coast, they sent it to him. However, yes, he's an influencer, but he was not one of the people that were supposed to be getting this. Why they sent it to him, that I don't know, and I didn't get into it to find out. But they sent it to him by accident. He then took this stuff and put it out on the internet because this is what influencers do. Oh, look at this great stuff I got. Oh, I know about Magic. And he showed off the cards and this and that. And he said he was going to continue showing it over time.
Yeah.
So Wizards of the Coast sends Pinkerton Agents, hold that thought, over to his house to threaten him, to say, you can be thrown in jail for 1 to 10 years, fined $200,000. If you fail to cooperate, we want all the product back. We want everything about this. We want all of the videos you did deleted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So first thing on this, who the hell knew that Pinkerton Agents were still a thing? Yes, I actually, yes, because you know everything, Corey. But I did know this, and giving a little bit of the background on Pinkerton Agents, they were responsible for quelling labor unrests in the late 1800s. They've been around forever. These days,
they were formed in the 1850s as part of a Civil War manipulation unit.
It's just crazy that these guys exist anymore. In the modern America, them showing up at your house, I don't believe that he had to let them in, talk to them, do anything. They couldn't break in. I don't think they had to. It's not like a bounty hunter, which has certain legal standing in certain states, but it's not. This guy had this stuff legally. He put it out on the internet because he can, and they strong-armed him, literally strong-armed him. And I don't think that's an issue that we can debate. Strong-armed him into giving it back, deleting all the stuff, threatening him with this, that, and the other thing, threatening with everything but violence. And he did all of that. Corey, anything you want to add?
It opens a really interesting door there.
Yep.
First of all, is it bad that I picture them in dusters holding Tommy guns? Because that's the only way I can picture this going down.
Well, it didn't go down in this case like that, but that's the old way it used to go down, so to speak. But, maybe not in the 1850s with Tommy guns, but like in the 20s, certainly. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it brings up these on the border legal issues. Let's say that you go to a store and you buy a really expensive stereo system, and they accidentally charge you $7, and you go home. Can they legally come back and ask you for the rest of the money? It's a gray zone. It really is a gray zone. And this is kind of in the same thing. He was sent product before it was released. And he did a video about it. They want to protect their interests. They want to protect their product. They're very tight about their release dates. So was he obligated to give the product back at least until its actual release date? I don't know. But these gray zone legal things are really, they're fascinating.
It is fascinating. This is sort of another case, and I hate to say, I'm siding here, but I think I am siding with the guy that
you're siding.
I'm siding with like, they have no right to just show up and demand things. Wizards of the Coast should have said, hey, listen, that's not the way we want the product shown. Can you please stop? Can you send it back and delete? And we'll come and send somebody over to take the stuff back.
It could have been handled better.
It sounds horrible what they did.
I think anytime you send the Pinkertons, the answer is it could have been handled better.
Unbelievable.
So keep in mind, we only have it from the report of the YouTuber that he ordered it under normal channels and it arrived early and it was Wizard's fault that he got it early.
Yes.
We don't have the other side.
I don't know why we don't have it, which is, I guess they're just staying out of it unless this thing blows up even more.
It won't. Yeah. It's just a bizarre story.
Another mess. Pokemon cards run out in Japan. What? The Pokemon Company sells out of Pokemon TCG products in Japan. Company promises to increase production to meet demand. The Pokemon Company released an official statement on their Japanese website explaining that they are out of stock on all Pokemon TCG products in Japan. In a statement translated by Google Translate, which obviously can't be wrong, the company apologized for inconveniencing customers who wish to purchase their products. They also promised to boost their production system to help churn out more products in short supply. The source of the shortage could be attributed to customer enthusiasm over the newly released Clay Burst and Snow Hazard expansion packs. These products hit the streets in Japan on April 14th, 2023, and may have helped drive sales of all Pokemon TCG products in that region higher. So, what we used to call this at Stronghold, we used to say it's a good problem to have, but at the same point, it's a problem, and you got to move quick. These cards are not printed in Japan, so they got to immediately engage. And I'm sure they have a very, very, very good supply chain. We're talking about a company that sells $1 billion in cards, maybe not quite $1 billion, but they sell 100 million dollars in cards a year, so they can react quickly to a situation like this. But it's pretty interesting. The number 2 TCG at the moment probably ran out of cards.
And we forget how absolutely huge Pokemon is. It
huge.
Is an enormous company with huge resources and power. And just the fact that they ran out, Oh man, that's shows how popular these things are.
Absolutely. So another one of the things that came out of the Gamma Expo was that Stoneblade Entertainment was regaining the rights from Ultra Pro to some of its game titles. The titles involved include the Ascension deck building game, which I believe was like the second big deck building game, right, that came out after
Yeah, it was very early.
Dominion. It was Dominion, and then what's that one by AEG? Gosh, I'm just having a brain fart. But Ascension,
Yeah.
which is still selling, I believe, was like right after that. Oh gosh, I don't have my games in front of me because I have it on the shelf there.
I can't come up with it off the top of my
Right,
head.
right. Stoneblade Entertainment was founded in 2012 as a successor publisher of the tabletop game Ascension, previously published by Gary Games, and the video game Soulforge, co-designed by Justin Gary and Magic the Gathering designer Richard Garfield, who we all know well. So hopefully this means that Ascension will continue, come back, be strong, because Ascension was a really good outgrowth. It was another of those kind of quick tactical version. Dominion set created the genre. I like to say that Dominion created the genre, and everything else after that was just better. Sorry, I mean Dominion's okay, but everything else was better.
Incredibly influential on deck building. Showed
Of
that
course,
what the mechanism could do, and it
right.
is deck building in its purest form. It still has tremendous numbers of people who love the game. But yeah, every game after Dominion used deck building and kind of built on it and showed how much more you could do. Just a note out there, just Shards of Infinity.
Yeah.
If you look in the second expansion, there is a card in Shards of Infinity that looks an awful lot like this guy. I have a card within the expansion.
It looks a lot like you.
Oh yeah.
God.
I'm on a card in the second expansion.
All right. Don't be such a show off, because I've had my ugly face in many cards in the past. So let's just
ones that you printed.
No, actually. I'm in one from Hero Realms. Came out very recently, so don't even start with me.
I actually really like your Terraforming Mars card of your investor. That's hysterical.
Eccentric investor who's lighting a cigar with a 25 mega credit bill. Yes,
Love it.
I'm the anybody who has the Prelude expansion can see me there. I still get to this day, hey Bonacore, I'm playing with you in Prelude right now. So it's always fun.
That's awesome, dude.
The Gamma Expo, let's finish up with this one here. It showed record attendance. And this, my friend, portends great things for the industry. And let me go through this and then we'll talk about it. Record attendance at Gamma Expo, over 20% plus from the 2019 non-COVID Gamma Expo. So Gamma reported record attendance at the recently completed Gamma Expo, up over 20% from 2019, the last year unaffected by the COVID pandemic. Attendance for the 2023 show was 2,041 compared to 1,680 in 2019. Attendance was up 50% over the 1,360 attendees last year. So let's break this down. First of all, these numbers, of course, probably sound low to people who go to the consumer shows, right? Origins even, right? Origins at its peak, 20,000. Now it's fallen. Gen Con, its peak, 60,000. It's fallen a bit. But this is a trade show. The only people that go to this thing, besides Corey, who's got no business being there, and Bonacore, who didn't go, the only people that go are publishers, distributors, and retailers, right? And media and game media. And that's what Corey was there for. Designers, making sure they have a chance to meet all these people, but particularly the publishers, right? But the main thing is for retailers to see what the publishers are bringing out, the retailers to talk to the distributors. That's the focus here. So
it's a business show.
It's a business show
and breaking deals.
It is it is a business show, a B2B show, business to business show. 2041 is a great number at the show. And Corey, you were saying it felt crowded, right? At some level, didn't it?
It felt full. I have to say that a lot of people talked to me about the Gamma this year, and the overwhelming comment was that it felt really good, that everybody was happy, everybody was having a good time, the social aspects were amazing, and everybody thought it was just a great show. Where it felt crowded to me is there is a daily event where they set up one of the conference rooms with a lot of the new games. The publishers will set up the new games and show them off and teach them to anybody who goes up there. And that room was ridiculously crowded every single night. Often it's kind of crowded on the first night and then it trails off and the further nights are not quite so, but it was ridiculously crowded. And on the first night, dominated by Disney Larkana. You couldn't even get through that crowd. It was this massive crowd in the middle of the conference room, just overwhelming everything else. So yeah, it felt full.
And that's great. And too bad we have kind of good news here that Ignacy is not privy to, because he loves hearing the bad news about Gamma. But this is good. And to drive home a small point here, I had predicted that this year's convention season was going to be above, it was going to be back to record levels. We're seeing it now with this, which is great.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. UKGE is my next big one. Let's see what happens. I'm going out to the UK. We'll see what happens there. And we see what happens with all the other big ones. It should be interesting.
Along with Gamma, the other thing that everyone is talking about is this ends a 5-year contract having Gamma in Reno.
That's exactly where I was going.
Oh, see, great minds. We think alike.
Tell us more about that.
So next year it's going to be moving to Louisville, Kentucky. And Gamma in Louisville is going to be more convention-like. It's going to be at a more standard convention center. It's going to probably have more people. It's going to be easier for people to get there. The big complaints with Reno were that it is in a hotel convention center. It feels a little like a small event within a hotel. And it's very difficult to get in and out of Reno. It's expensive. It's a third-tier airport.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly right.
Change things a lot.
Yeah, now
I'm really curious.
No, I've never been to Louisville, Kentucky. It's certainly not a big city by any stretch of the imagination. But I think I'm going to go back to Gamma next year to see what it's going to be like under the new. And of course, now from the East Coast, which let's face, period, more people live on the East Coast than the West Coast, and overall, you're going to get a lot more retailers. Retailers are the biggest people coming out there are going to be able to get to Louisville than who would want to go on the 6-hour, probably with connections trip to get to Reno.
I liked Reno. It's close to my house. So
well, yes, of course you did.
That's my selfish reasons. But however, Louisville was picked because it is very, very central to half the US, and like you said, probably majority of the population. Almost everybody in the Midwest to the East Coast can get to Louisville driving in a decent to longish day. Yeah,
absolutely. That's what's going to happen. I will fly, but let's see what happens for next year. And in the meantime, the strategy and tactics segment. All right. So Corey, we have our good friend Kurt Van Hooyveld, who calls himself Vitruvian Gamer on BGG. He asks us lots of questions. Thank you, Kurt, for being so prolific in our guild. Please give us questions. Lately, we've seen a lot of games getting a new deluxe edition. Games like Castles of Burgundy, Ra, Rococo, Cleopatra and the Society of Architects, and La Granja got a royal treatment and bigger and more expensive editions. Even Portal Games jumped on the bandwagon with Robinson Crusoe. Is this something that will last, or will the current rise in cost make publishers and or consumers lose their interest, or their will in spending a lot of money in pimping up deluxe versions? Corey?
I definitely think it'll last. I think it's just a symptom of the age of our relatively young modern board gaming industry. Once you get to a certain age in the industry, we have very good games that are starting to be forgotten about, and we have to bring them back into the public mind somehow. So those games from the early 2000s, 2010s that people loved back then, they're still great games. Why not bring them back into the spotlight and have people play with them in an improved form, give them a little value added? So I think it's going to keep going just to give that nostalgia rerun factor to the industry.
100% agree. And there's another reason behind it. It's a known quantity for publishers. All of the publishers, all the games that were just mentioned here were on a crowdfunding platform. So the risk to doing it is low because you're getting people's money. They're pre-ordering the game. They're paying for the game way before the game comes up. And the name is known, and people who are fans of the games will go onto the crowdfunding platform. We know who they are, and they will make these things successful, and they'll have, depending on how big the game is, they're going to have multi-million-dollar Kickstarters, or we use that as a generic term, or game founds or backer kit. We're going to have this happening again and again. A known quantity for publishers who bringing out a new game these days is an utter crapshoot. Bringing out a known quantity for fans of the game with this pimped out version, people are going to spend. Yeah, I'll take the $100
and
version.
Remember, some of them fail too. I mean, famously, HeroScape had a crowdfunding through Hasbro, even though it's weird.
Don't even go to that horrible campaign that Hasbro ran.
It was a terrible campaign with no hype. No one knew it was going on. And Hasbro was absolutely a stickler about the limits and limitations. Yeah. As soon as they let it go the whole time, it made a lot of money, but it didn't make exactly what they wanted. They just said done.
And I was one of the saddest people because we talked about it here a lot on the show. I really wanted to see HeroScape back. HeroScape is a great game. Anyway,
it will be back, but we just don't know when.
Back to this case, we're gonna see it, and you're gonna see it for the biggest titles or the most nostalgic. I think you kind of did that. You kind of pointed that out. That's the one we're gonna constantly see it for. There's no risk to the publisher. I love this question. Vincenzo Alvarello, good friend of mine, used to live in New Jersey. He went up to Minneapolis. He says, "What's the deal with talking about underwear?" Steven's underwear comes up a lot.
I want to know the answer to this too.
First of all, I don't talk about
here, man.
I don't talk about it on the show. On this show, I talked about it at the happy hour we did. I talk about it in the Podfather Gaming group occasionally.
I think I might need to make a supercut of you talking about it on this show.
I got to stop talking so that you can't do that then. But you can go back to those happy hour recordings. It came up a lot.
Pay money to hear you not talk for a little while.
There's now the Podfather of Gaming underwear that you can go get on the Etsy shop that we set up. Why, Vincenzo? Because it's funny. And a rule of comedy. You say something once, people go. You say it twice, you say it a third time. It's the rule of three in comedy. You say it 3 times. And watch any comedy show. They bring it. They'll make a joke early. They'll bring that thing up again, and they'll bring it again, often in the closing or again and again. It's a thing. I'm telling you. Bonica was on. Oh, by the way, I was an underwear model when I was in my 20s. No, I was not an underwear model in my 20s, but I had Corey for a second. He was believing it. His face went. His face like. Yes, you did. All right, Michael.
Still out selling your merch. I just want to say.
Mikel Kramarczyk, who's at Kramerwiski. Sorry, I'm really bad with the Slavic names. He says, hi. Thank you. Hi, question to Stephen, because I unfortunately know the answer for Ignacy. This is a perfect time to get it. What is your opinion about square rule books? I totally hate them. They need too much space on the table. need either to use both hands to read them or fold them or put them on the table because it's hard to read them in because they can't keep their shape themselves. Additionally, it's a lot of wasted space in most of them just for spacing for non-useful graphic elements. Almost everyone I talk to about hates them. To be sure, I think the only person I know who publicly said he loves them is your co-host, but he said this only in Polish. All right. So Miguel, apologies again for the pronunciation. The answer to your question is, I don't care. The answer to your question more closely is, it depends on the box. You get a square. Sure. You get a square. I still have this box here, Ignacy. I'm still publicizing Ignacy's game. You have a box like 51st State here. It's a huge box. It's a big square box. You use a square manual. That's it.
It's still in shrink, man. If you're not going to play it, send it to me. I'll open it and play it.
I'm going to play it with Z Garcia next time I just saw him this past weekend. I forgot to mention I saw him. We played games. Anyway, you get a square box. You're probably going to use the real estate of the full box to then have less pages in the rule book because you can have nicer layouts because it's big. It's, approximately 290 millimeter by 290 millimeter. It's
approximately,
about, give or take. That's what these boxes are on the length by width. So no, it literally doesn't matter to me other than you do it based on the box. And then, of course, if you have your iPad or some kind of thing sitting close by when you're playing a game, you can bring it up in electronic format, right? And that's the best way, and search it easier than flip into rule books and stuff. So I gotta say, Miguel, I don't have a hatred for them. I don't have a love for them. I like them. Yeah. They're fine.
I kind of feel the same. I feel that rule books are either good or bad, and it's kind of independent of the size. I've read some square rule books that are absolutely magnificent. The ones that come to mind are the old Shem Phillips, Garfield rule books, North Sea Trilogy, the West Trilogy. Those are amazingly well done rule books. They use the space on the page. They are square. They're great. The things that I hate, and I will go on a rant on this, the rule books that are single pages that unfold into a big poster, terrible. I hate that. And the rule books that are tiny little booklets, much smaller than the game, with say 20 teeny tiny pages. They're so hard to go through, so hard to figure out. So,
indeed.
But those are exceptions. Most of the time, the quality of the rule book just has to do with who wrote the rule book. And there's square ones and rectangular ones that are equally wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, what do you feel about bad rule books? It's just badly written. Yeah, completely different question. And that, I think, is much more important than the format of the rule book. Daniel Shepard, another good buddy from the Texas area. He and his wife Megan used to hang out and do a game demoing for me in my booth at Stronghold. Thank you, Daniel, for being a supporter. I was playing Stronghold 2nd Edition recently. I was thinking about the inspiration that probably existed for the Battle of Helm's Deep. I'm pretty sure Ignacy has stated that he drew a lot from that conflict when creating the game. Was there ever an attempt to create a Lord of the Rings licensed version? Wow. So, Daniel,
wow.
I'm going to answer this question, and I think I could get in trouble for answering this question. But I think the time has come and gone. I'm going to answer the question on behalf of Ignacy. The answer to the question is yes. There was a version of this game, which was the Battle of Helm's Deep. I will stop short of the full story. He had designed the game. It was going to be licensed through another publisher who might be able to get that IP, the Lord of the Rings license. It just didn't happen because I believe the licensing issue did come up. But said other publisher, had done Lord of the Rings games in the past, so they thought they could do another one. And this part's fuzzy on me. They weren't able to. But the answer is, and this is huge. Oh, I got to I have to send Ignacy a. Oh my God, this is a good one. Lord of the Helms. All right, I'm writing this down to send a note to Ignacy that I have an idea now. I have an idea.
Oh my
I
goodness.
have an idea for him. Daniel, thank you for inspiring this. I'm gonna.
I just want to add on to Daniel's question real quick that there was a big shift in Tolkien Enterprises as a company. It used to be run with a very tight grip, and the head of the Tolkien estate was Christopher Tolkien, and Christopher was very reluctant to give out licenses. There were a lot of issues, some public, some not, and the licenses were few and far between. And when Christopher left his position as head of Tolkien, a lot of different things started happening. The biggest among them is that the Tolkien estate became part of the Embracer Group. It was purchased by the parent company to Asmodee. And in addition, licenses are more free flowing. So in the time, it was very difficult to get licenses through Tolkien anyway.
Very, very true. We're going to take one more question and then move on. And this is just basically in response to the last question. And Peter Van Hook, who's at Pieta VH on BGG, he says, Ignacy, would you, in response to that question just now about the Lord of the Ring franchise, would you be willing to design a game to be published by another company other than Portal? And the answer, I know that, is yes, because he's actually done that. He's done games that were not out under Portal, or he's designed games that were not going to be done by Portal. So I've answered it for him. And I think a designer designs. So if it doesn't work for your catalog, it could work for another one. And I'm sure that he would do another one. I mean, he was working on one with Eric Lang for the longest time. We haven't heard much about that one. And who knows where that was going to end up. He was doing that even during the CMON days. So who knows where that design could end up in the future. All right, everybody. I believe that brings us to the end of Strategy and Tactics. Let's get over to playtesting. So last week, here, Ignacy asked the question of everyone, and he asked everybody not to forget to vote for us in the Golden Geek Award. But, since you're here already, you can do that. But he said, if you buy board games online, do you buy at Amazon.com or do you buy at your favorite online board game store? And we mentioned a few of them. We all know who they are, and they're different per region, of course. And he's checking to see just how dominant Amazon is in the U.S. board game market versus Miniature Market, Noble Knight, cool stuff more in the past. So, Corey, did you find any very interesting? There's a lot of answers here. I did more than one page of answers. Wow, there's a full page of answers here.
Everybody's got an opinion on here. The thing that I found pretty interesting is there's a lot of discrepancy about how either convenient or how affordable Amazon is in different countries. So the question really, I think, branches out into where are you? For example, Marvin OTC wrote, I buy from my friendly local game store online. Amazon prices in Canada are just not that great.
That's great. I mean, that's very, very interesting. He's indicating that Amazon prices are not good in Canada. And Ignacy had mentioned that that's the same a lot of times in Europe as well.
Yeah. And I had said also that when I'm buying online, my goal is usually to get something new, early, and fast. And Amazon is not the best source for that most of the time. So I've seen a couple answers along those lines as well.
Marion, our friend Marion, who's a Mary Mac on BGG. Honestly, if I buy online, it's mostly from Amazon. Occasionally Miniature Market or cool stuff, but mostly Amazon. It's fast, and I have Prime, so shipping cost is usually not an additional cost.
That's a big one.
It's just going to be a big thing for people, right? I mean, if they're already paying for Prime and they get Amazon stuff free shipping, Amazon pays for the shipping essentially, right? And your support of Prime pays for that. They might as well do that. So that's going to be a normal thing to answer.
And Fabian Konis wrote, I never order games on Amazon, only from my favorite online game stores, which is he mentioned specifically Philibert, which is one of the biggest in Europe. Interestingly, owned by Asmodee.
That's right. That's right.
Miniature Market also.
That's right. Amazon, Asmodee owns Miniature Market. They stealth bought that company.
Yeah.
Panorama. Not good. All my friends are asking. Maybe it's only my friends that listen to the show now. He says, I'm choosing Amazon, and I know that's unpopular choice, but it's the one that works for me. I pay for Prime, so why not use it? The convenience. I'm only buying what I want. I'm trying to buy less and pay more. I'm not buying more games than I need to get free shipping. I already pay for free 2 days, in most cases, 1 day shipping. Biggest reason, my local game store is less friendly. So that's always going to be a thing. I mean, we're going into the friendly local versus the online, but that wasn't the question, right? We're talking about
if you're doing online.
If you're doing online, if you buy any games online, what's your first choice? Anything else you saw there?
Yeah, another international viewpoint. And I'm really fascinated by the people talking from other countries because, of course, that's what I don't know. So Valentine Creton said, can't speak for the US, but in France, Amazon.fr isn't really the best place to buy board games. The prices are usually higher and the choice is really limited. For work, I buy games through Philibert again. For myself, I only order online out of print games. I really want secondhand platforms mostly.
Very, very interesting. I'm going to take two more of these because they're interesting and almost related. So Rick Fuss, who's at Rick Fuss, he says, I only buy games on Amazon if I'm sending gifts to friends who live out of state. It's just easier that way. That's very interesting, right? So he, because it's just Amazon, boom, and he sends it because free shipping,
no effort whatsoever.
Right,
it's so easy.
It's just easy. So that's when he does it. And Kirk Lawton at K Lawton, he says, I spend maybe 5% of my gaming dollars at Amazon. The prices are typically a bit better at CSI or MM, and I bundle my shipments to get free shipping. So he just makes a big order, gets a better price or a competitive price, and he's happy about it. Very cool. So my question, I'm gonna do the question this week.
After you erased my question, your question is
yes, during the show no preparation, you watched me erase your 3-word question or something like that you put there, so you can use it next time.
Stephen, less words is better.
Yeah, I think more words are better. That's a difference between us. Okay, so my question is about what I said in my remarks up at the hello section where we talk about ourselves and stuff like that, about my role-playing game. But I'm asking you, if you are a role player, if you participate in an RPG or you have now, will in the past, whatever the case is, given the choice, after playing a campaign for 2.5 years, give or take, and a cataclysmic event occurred, placing you 10,000 years in the past, would you rather, A, just continue in the campaign in the past, B, have a few sessions that are like an epilogue to close out the campaign, or C, call the event the end of the campaign and restart a new campaign? So it's like a movie, if you think about it. Do you just continue the movie like with a second thing? Do you have a little epilogue to end it, or is this like boom, the cataclysmic event? It's over. That's how we're thinking about it now in my campaign. And if you choose call it the end of the campaign and restart, would you use the same system to restart, or would you choose a new system of the millions of systems that are out there? And I'm gauging this through the process of others, because we're going to have a discussion of this tonight with my online friends. Corey, are you a role player first? I don't even know that you are.
Right now I'm not in a campaign, but I was the DM for an ongoing campaign that lasted 20 years.
You got to be. How often did you play? That's a phenomenally long.
About 1 to 2 times a month. So not tremendously long,
right,
but through college and after, we used actually the Roll Master system from ICE, which basically is D&D if you decided it needs a lot more tables. Like there's not enough charts, so you need tremendous amounts of charts.
That's amazing.
So.
That's amazing. So, I mean, and that's really a cool thing. So you literally played at least once a month. I mean, give or take. Maybe you didn't do it for 20 years with the same group of how many? 5?
Same group of, it was 6 or 7. Yeah.
That's a big group.
Wow.
Wow.
I purchased a Geek Chic table when the company was new just to continue playing this role-playing game at that table.
So, okay, awesome. Awesome. You're a big geek. Okay, we got it. So what's your answer? What's your answer to my question?
I think it comes down to how do you define a campaign? I mean, you really want to keep playing with these people. That's a given.
Yep.
So the DM could say, here's a new story. This is a new campaign. But in all reality, you're continuing the same game you're doing. You're really asking about the same characters.
No, I'm asking if we continue in the past, it's the same characters. If we continue for a few sessions, it's the same characters. But if we call an end, it would be completely new campaign with new characters. We'd end the movie at this point. So
yeah,
which one would you think you would choose?
I would choose using the same characters. The big thing there's 2 big highs for me with role-playing games. Creating a character is incredible, and living that character through is incredible. And once the character is created, and you've played with it a long time and you've gone up levels, I think it's a no-brainer to keep using those characters.
A, B, or C. So A or B is probably what you're saying. So which one is it? Continue the campaign in the past ad infinitum. Okay, so continue the campaign in the past ad infinitum. Okay, interesting. That is very interesting. I mean, I'm personally, and I'm, no one's going to hear this before my discussion tonight, of course, and just my opinion can change, but I'm actually leaning toward B, doing a few sessions, an epilogue to close out the campaign and understand what's happening 10,000 years in the past, kind of like the end of a movie, right? And then once we end that, which I have to kind of put into this question when I put it on the geek, when we end the campaign, I want to try a new system. I think I want to try a rules light system because we're using D&D 5, which is definitely, I'm not going to use Rollmaster, which is definitely lighter than Pathfinder 1. But I really am going to see if I can get Alex, my wonderful DM, to run the One Ring 2nd edition. Since
I knew you were going to go there.
I mean, I bought it. I love it. I want to do it. I think it would be so much fun. But I don't know. I want to continue playing with these guys. They're so good. So
my 20-year campaign started in the Middle-earth role-playing system from ICE.
Very cool.
And Rollmaster was a more complicated version of that.
I'm just amazed at you when you said 20 years. I mean, the longest campaign I did was 4 or 5, and that's really cool, man. Very cool.
When you get to my age, you will realize these things.
When I get to your age, being 10 years older than you. Anyway, we really have to move on.
Yes, sir.
So right now, I will create a thread because Corey's incapable of doing so. I will create a thread on the Geek for you to answer this, and I'll add a little more color so that you really get where I'm going. For you to answer this question, please go to our guild on Board Game Geek, find play testing number 275, and answer this question. We may take your answer on the next episode. And now, the final scoring. Thank you so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be part of the podcast, you can just ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment or answer our question for our play testing segment. Check out our websites, which are portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, and dicetowerdish.com. On social media, interact with us on Facebook /BoardGamesInsider /PortalGamesUS and /PodfatherGaming. You can speak directly with Ignacy, Corey, and Steven. Twitter and Instagram is @PortalGamesUS, @PodfatherGaming, @DicetowerDish, @DicetowerNow, and the YouTube channels are Portal Games Movies and the Podfather Gaming. TikTok for Ignacy is Portal Games US. Love to see you in 2023, an upcoming convention, and especially people out there in the UK. I'll be there. Who's buying me a beer when I get there? Come on. I love British ales. I want the full spectrum. I want the bitters, the special bitters, the extra special bitters. I want the porters. I want the stouts. I want the barley wines. I can't wait to be in the UK. First time in a really long time, like 20 years.
It's the long con. He's just done this all his life just to get the beer.
I'm just here for the beer. So I wait to see you there. And if you see us at any convention, please come and talk to us. We live for it. Board Games Insider, professionally edited by Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you'd like him to edit yours, reach out to him at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. And that great voice you hear doing our intro, outro, and in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Corey, nothing else? You put nothing down here at the end. I didn't put anything down here either, so it's on me as well.
To my big surprise thing at the beginning. So let's hope that down in Southern California, I can talk about Mars and robots a little bit in a while.
You should probably stop jinxing the whole thing when you can actually talk about it. But this is
I know.
It's going to be great, going to be epic. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for listening to us. Please talk about the podcast and tell people to listen to us. Until next time, we'll see you on Board Games Insider.
See y'all later.